shows is there. Fighting for freedom, remember there's trouble over land.
This is the Masters of the Universe Classics Ular, the Jungle He-Man. He's the 2015 Club Eternia sub-exclusive. Comes from Matty Collector. Just released, came out a couple weeks ago. I actually didn't get mine from Matty Collector. I got mine from Big Bad Toy Store, paid a little extra for it. But I do not have a current subscription, so I could not get the exclusive figure, and I figured it'd be much higher on the secondary market eventually. Ular has some pretty major cultural significance within the Masters of the Universe mythology. Anybody familiar with the original mini-comics knows that this was kind of how He-Man first appeared way back when. I have fond memories of those days. I remember sitting in the passenger seat of my mother's Volkswagen Rabbit in a little red car back in the early 1980s. And my first figure I ever got was Skeletor, and I got He-Man very shortly thereafter, and I just jumped right into those mini-comics. I hadn't discovered the cartoon yet. So the mini-comics were where it was at, and the first view you really got of He-Man in those mini-comics was Ular, was the savage barbarian who had just escaped from his tribe, or not escaped, but just left his tribe to help the goddess rescue Eternia. And this is really how he appeared. He eventually obviously put on his force field harness and got the enchanted weapons from the goddess or the sorceress, whatever terminology you prefer. But essentially, this was He-Man as he first appeared. And Mattel does a great job of bringing him to life. The best thing about this figure is kind of its simplicity. It's a very basic figure. For folks who are big fans of the subscription figures, you might wonder, is this enough? There's no armor, there's no real fancy gadgets, no layers of new tooling or anything like that might make him more appealing to a current Masters of the Universe fan, but he does have that deep significance, especially that certain segment of Masters of the Universe collectors that are big fans of the savage side of He-Man, which I was. I really like that mixture of fantasy, barbarianism, and science fiction. You had a guy like Ular, who looked like a savage barbarian, and then you had a guy like Zodak, who had a funky helmet, battle armor, and a laser pistol, and they somehow worked together. My love of this is similar to how I love G.I. Joe, where you have these mixed and match of realistic military and science fiction, and you don't really need to explain it. It just kind of is, and you can enjoy it. And I feel the same way about Masters of the Universe as I'm revisiting it now. You can see his fur loincloth is extended. It's a little bit larger, a little bit longer than the regular He-Man. Obviously, the head sculpt is pretty fantastic. It's very reminiscent of that original mini-comic. He's just basically a barbarian figure, no suit of armor, very highly articulated. Mattel managed to use the familiar Masters of the Universe buck. He's got the torso joint and torso swivel, got the ball joints in the shoulders, got the elbow joint, got the wrists, got the ball joint head, the hips, the knees, the ankles. These ankles, there's no there's a little bit of a pivot to it. Because of that little ankle joint, his ankles look a little bit thick, but that's a minor complaint. He's not wearing boots or anything like that, so when you're just looking at bare legs, those ankles might look a little bit thick, but I don't think they're that bad. And I think he looks like a great figure. Like I said, he's very simplified. Some people might look at me funny, realizing how much I might have paid for him, since he is a pretty basic figure and isn't really crucial to the ongoing Masters of the Universe mythology. He's He-Man as he first appeared, but he doesn't really mix with the current generation of Skeletor or Trapjaw or any of those more infamous characters. But as he stands on his own, he is a really, really great figure. Very basic, very generic, but very meaningful to me, who had a real attachment to this vision of He-Man from back in the day. For accessories, because he is a sub-exclusive, he does come with the Mattel mini-comic. It is the first of a three-part saga, The Fall of Eternia, featuring King He-Man on the cover there with the female Hordak, Despera, I think her name is. I won't spoil any of the stuff that's inside. You can kind of see some nice dramatic action there. You can see the 2000X Power Sword kind of sitting in the rocks down there. I won't open it and reveal anything that Mattel doesn't want us to reveal, but it is a great little mini-comic. It's the first one of these mini-comics that I've actually been able to get my hands on. I liked it enough that I'm going to look into the secondary market to see what I can do to find some of the other mini-comics. I really think the story is neat. One thing that Mattel doesn't get enough credit for, I think, is taking all of these different Masters of the Universe mythologies and combining them into one cohesive story. That's a really great thing that they've done through these biographies for the Masters of the Universe Classics line, is they managed to take a character like Ular, like this random savage He-Man, and kind of try to tie him into the rest of the mythology and not just pretend he's a different version of the same character. So Mattel has done a great job doing that. Along with the mini comic, he also comes with this fantastic wooden spear. I love this spear. This wooden texture is very, very nicely done. It's got the wrap at the top, got the like real spearhead kind of chiseled stone spear at the top too. It looks really, really good. Looks like they pulled it right from those original mini comics. It's pretty fantastic. He's also got this power sword, a little bit understated compared to his Filmation power sword, but it does go along with the theme of the barbarian character. Nice little gold handle, silver blade, pretty nice looking little sword. Nothing major to it, but just another nice little piece. And last but not least, he comes with an alternate vintage He-Man head sculpt. This is a great, great new head sculpt. The big difference really is it's just in the detail. You will notice the detail immediately when you compare this to the original vintage head sculpt. And you can see here I've got the two side by side. The new one that comes with Ular the Jungle He-Man is on the left, on the viewer's left. The original Matty Collector version is on the right. And as you can see, the level of detail is just amazing when you really look at them both side by side. Just the sculpting in the hair, the layered paint applications in the hair on the left, the deeper cheekbones, the more pronounced nose. It manages to look like the vintage He-Man, but the sculpting is so much better, so much more refined. It just looks a ton better. It's a really great addition to the figure. It gives you something new to put on the original Matty Collector He-Man body to give you a new look for that figure. And I'm happy to say it does snap on really easily. I'm always a little nervous about these swappable parts just because, you yank on a head and you're a little worried that, you might be popping a neck peg off. And I haven't really had any of those problems with the Masters of the Universe as of yet. And I can show you right here. You just take the head. A bit of elbow grease, but not much. Snaps right on. And there you go. And he looks great. He looks great. He looks like the vintage version, but with some of that updated sculpting from the past few years, it makes a really, really big difference. And of course, these great weapons that I've been talking about, because these guys have their familiar, Masters of the Universe classic hand grips, the weapons are going to fit in there well. The spear fits really nicely, really snug. It slides into his grip very well. No real issues with that at all. Same with the power sword, and you can do it with either hand too. I mean, the hands are a little bit rubbery, the fingers separate nicely, and the accessories just fit in this hand remarkably well. You've got the comic here too. And you got the new head sculpt here too. So that's kind of the total package right there. You've got Ular, the spare head, the mini comic. It's a really great package. Especially if you're a sub member and you get this for your subscription price, the value, it's amazing to me because he's an important piece of the He-Man mythology. Whether you agree with how the mini comics presented him or not, you can't argue the significance of this. I mean, this is He-Man in his purest form. This is how He-Man was born. The first mini comics that were generated from Mattel back in 1982, this is what He-Man looked like. So, whether you agree with it or not, whether you like Prince Adam or not, this is the birth of He-Man right here, and he makes for a significant addition to anybody's display, and I'm really glad I have him. I did pay a little bit more for him than I maybe wanted to, but I was able to get him on my shelf, and as someone who's just kind of, rediscovering Masters of the Universe after, a few decade gap, it's a very cool piece to add to my collection. I'm very excited to have it.